Hello, friends. Today's November the 1st. All the festivities are finally over, and people are going back to the regular daily routine. I just watched a video from DoorDash, and she's been a real inspiration to me. The video that I watched was posted probably about a month ago, and she was still doing DoorDash. I relate to her very well because I think that we think and feel a lot alike, and we've had very similar experiences. The video that she posted was why she has no friends and why she doesn't work a 9-to-5 job. I can relate to that. And I actually have a perfect example as to why it doesn't work for some people. And I should say this: rejection is a form of protection, and not everybody's in agreement. People will look at you, they will blame you, they will shame you, and they will guilt you. But God knows what's best for you, and God will get in your way if you're trying to do something that is not aligned with your purpose. If you're trying to hide your shine, if you're trying to avoid people finding out who you are, and you have a good idea of who that person is, and maybe it's because you've been rejected, you've been abused, discriminated against, and exiled. And this can be family. Family can do this to you also. I've had that experience in my life, and it doesn't feel good. Not at all. Like, for example, there's a lot of stories that I can share. I have been through a lot in my life. I am 56 years old. I am a mother of 4. I'm a grandmother of 8. And I cannot even begin to tell you my story because there are so many things that have happened in my life that people would literally gasp at. It's just not their journey. They were never meant to go through the things that I have been through. So I'm going to attempt to tell those stories, but I really have to take time to think about it because I can't just dump everything in one video. It's just too much. But I want to take a minute to say thank you for being here. Thank you for caring enough to listen to my story or what I'm thinking or feeling at the time, because that's really important. Somewhere along the line in my life, it probably started out as childhood, I just didn't feel like I was seen or heard, and I absolutely got the message that I did not matter. Sorry, there's some background noise. There's always some background noise. But she talked about why she chose to do gig work, and I have been there. I actually was a rideshare driver for 6.5 years, and in that time I met 10,000 people, because in checking on my accounts I had 10,000 people in my car in that 6.5 years between the two of them. And then I found that that was extremely stressful, and it really wasn't the people that was the problem. It was the traffic. It was the angry individuals, like DoorDash mentioned in her video. There's a lot of angry people in this world, and I'm very sensitive because I'm an intuitive. So those are my gifts. I didn't choose them. I didn't ask for them. And for a long time I hid that because people discriminated against me for it. So I just want to let you know, if you're one of those people, don't hide it. We need that in the world right now more than ever. People need to know, and that's one of the reasons why I was prompted to do this channel, because God kept sending me the same messages. You have to do this, whether you like it or not. I know how you feel about being on camera. I know how much you hate having your photo taken. And you can ask my kids. In the last 2 decades, I've not allowed my kids to take any pictures of me, and used to get pretty upset about it. I've calmed down a lot. I'm not as emotionally dysregulated as I used to be. I've had a lot of trauma in my life. A lot. And that's what set me off on the journey of doing rideshare, because after a very traumatic experience in my life, that was very sudden, even though I kind of suspected that that was going to come to an end, that relationship. I didn't think it would end like that. And I think there's a lot of people in a similar situation. So I've had catastrophic events in my life that have changed me, first and foremost, for the better. But what it took for me to get to this point where I am today was a lot of soul searching. And for that, I needed to be solitary. I needed to have time away from everyone. I needed to sort my thinking. I needed to find myself. I needed to understand what it was that I valued and what I could surrender and let go of, what did not serve me in my life and the direction my life was meant to go. A lot of times we get those synchronicities, we get those messages, and we know we're supposed to be going a certain direction, but we can't imagine how to get there because, well, it's all new. So you have no history, nothing to reference it to, and you don't really know where to begin. Pardon me. And I'm sorry if I'm getting off track here. But back to Dodash's video about not having any friends. I have no friends. And then I do. I have one of the best friends in the entire world. And this is what people don't understand. They're looking for love. They're looking for friendship. They're looking for approval. They're looking for validation. And they're looking outside of themselves. So there must be a deficit somewhere, some type of deficiency within the individual who is doing that. And it could be from their childhood, that they were raised in a way where those needs were not met, or they got the message from their caretaker, and not everybody has a mom and dad, so I want to put that out there, who gave them the message, or they received it in that way, that they were not as important, that their needs were not as important, that what they had to say was not okay. They weren't really heard or validated, and nothing they did was ever good enough. So I'm sorry, my train of thought is getting skewed because somebody is having a little tiff somewhere, and it's disturbing me. The reason I chose to do this video in my car is because my car and I have a very unusual relationship. This was my home for 8.5 years. So that trauma that I was talking about and the screeching halt to the relationship that I was in is what landed me in this car. The trauma response from having post-traumatic stress disorder was so severe, and the way that it affected me was that I felt like I had to keep going, I had to keep moving. And yet at that time, I had put my life on the shelf to take care of this person and their 9 children. And this person had prostate cancer. Prior to that, a decade prior to that, I started with my spiritual awakening. And as that was happening in a very condensed 5.5 month period, which I can tell you about those things at a later date, my life was basically being rewritten. How I lived my life, what I ate, how I moved in the world, what my priorities were. Everything was about spiritual advancement. And I just want to say with that, everyone is a spiritual being having a human experience. So for those people who are striving really hard to be more spiritual, you're just looking for yourself. And, you know, this is a prompt to be gentle with yourself, not to force anything and to allow things to come to you. So I had a precursor 10 years prior to this connection with this individual of plant medicine. I became extremely passionate about it. I started learning everything I could, like I couldn't get enough. I started implementing it in my life, and at that time I was living on a very, very tight budget, but somehow I managed. There's always a way, though you might not see it. You have to keep trying. And then it went into nutrition, and then from nutrition it went into some alternative methods, which are really ancient methods of healing, things that people don't know about, because through the generations, even though it might have been attempted to pass it down, people just pretty much threw it to the wayside. So when they talk about the difference between alternative medicine and Western medicine, the original medicine is alternative, just for those who are on the fence about it. I have seen miracles in my life and the lives of others as a result. And I know some really fantastic people that I'll be talking about too on this channel who are offering assistance. They're offering knowledge. They're helping people to make better choices if people will receive that information and apply it in their life. So doing rideshare was something I was kind of forced into doing because of my circumstance and because of my trauma. And what I learned was a lot. I learned a lot. I had to go through the 5 stages of grieving, which took me about 6.5 years. And I had to put myself aside. I had to learn how to communicate with people one-on-one. And I had to learn how to deliver messages from spirit to those people. And people come from all walks of life, and they have their own experiences, and some of those people are not very receptive. So you really have to be careful when you're trying to deliver a message that's coming through. And Spirit knows exactly how to use me as a tool to get me to do that. But it took many years to refine that ability. And those 10,000 people are just scratching the surface, because you can't even imagine when you live in your car for 8.5 years, how you have to rely on all these exterior sources to provide for yourself. You have to eat, you have to drink, you have to use the bathroom, you have to go shopping for the things that you need to keep in your car for, you know, various things like going to a truck stop and taking a shower, doing your laundry at the laundromat. It's a freezing morning. You know, I've been in temperatures, the lowest was -1 degree, and the next lowest was 8 degrees. And I have slept in this car, which is like an ice box, with a sleeping bag that really didn't do a whole lot for me, because the moment you turn your car off and that heat is gone, it takes seconds for the 6 windows to let all the cold in. And this car is made of metal, which attracts all types of changes in the temperature. So the cold and the heat and all of those things. So there's no insulation in these cars whatsoever. None. And for those people who are curious, I slept in this seat that I'm talking in right now. I ate in this seat. That was my life every single day for 8.5 years. And then my heater and air conditioning unit broke. And that's a $200 piece of equipment that's behind your glove box. I wasn't in a position at that point. The universe had really stopped me from being able to do anything for myself, or very little. I was scraping by. The last 2 years of me living in my car, I was doing DoorDash. Yeah. And deactivated my account. They deactivated my account, and the only people who will understand this are people who do DoorDash, because of the way that the system works. So if you accept an order and you decide that it wasn't what you thought it was going to be and you don't want it, and you cancel that order, that is considered a incompletion. If you have a certain percentage of incompletes, which can be only 3 out of 100%, that will drop you to like 70% or somewhere in that area. And when that happens, they have the option of deactivating you. And that's exactly what happened to me. I denied a few of them because they just weren't worth it. And I look at the mileage and all of that. Sometimes you're so quick, you have like a trigger finger and you're instantly hitting the button yes, and then you realize, oh God, what did I do? You know, I accepted an order that is just not worth taking. It's not fair, and I'm just going to go ahead and cancel it. Well, I did that 3 times in a row, and then they deactivated me. You have the ability to appeal. I did, and their decision was not overturned, so I ended up losing my ability to work. That was really hard. That was really, really hard. Because I can't do Uber Eats, because when I did rideshare, we were just not on the same page, and they said I was in violation of a safety reason, which was really insurance related. It had nothing to do with actual safety. So if you've ever done Uber rideshare, Uber Eats and rideshare are connected on the same platform, and even though they have different requirements, I was not allowed to do it. Now I was in trouble. You know, my very survival was dependent on me being able to work, and those options were taken away from me. So while DoorDash was a good option for a little while, it became oversaturated, and also there were areas where they had a lot of restaurants, but the servers for any carrier, I don't care what phone carrier you have, just didn't have the capacity to handle the volume of people that were using that server. Anyway, I know this is kind of all over the place, and I apologize. I really don't want to have to redo it, and I'm definitely not going to edit. I'm going to be au naturel in my sharing. So, earlier on, I lost a lot of the people I considered to be my friends. I had to make the decision to either choose them or choose me. And you know when a person is true to you by the way that they act, not what they say. And people will try to get themselves out of a tough spot with you if they know that they've done you dirty in some way, or they just haven't really lived up to what you consider being a friend. And you have to cut those people loose, because your spiritual quest is to choose yourself. You must become authentically who you are and unapologetic. A lot of people have a hard time doing that because for survival reasons, they have to pretend to be something and someone that they're not. And I've had those experiences at jobs, so I completely relate, like working a 9-to-5. I had worked so many 9-to-5 jobs in my life. I've done office work, secretarial, administrative assistant. I worked at a hospital. I was the administrative assistant to the director of nursing, so I'm by no means stupid. But there was a lot of things that I had to put up with, a lot of bad treatment from people who felt they were superior to me because of my position or status in that environment, which is really heart-wrenching because you go home with that stuff. Now traffic is horrific, so people are angry because they don't want to live the life that they're living, but they feel and they think that they have to. Their own limitations are making them miserable. They refuse to grow because, you know, they have this bill and they have that bill, and You know, Susie goes to gymnastics and I have to make sure that she has the best of everything, and her classes are not cheap, blah, blah, blah. And then you start acquiring all these material things, and those material things own you. You think you own them, they own you. If you can't walk out of your life the way it is now, get in your car and go somewhere you've never been before and start all over again without you having mental, emotional, or physical stress, which, by the way, your body does absorb all of that, and you should know that, because people don't know why they're in pain or why they're uncomfortable. Like today, for example, I have a lot of chest pain, and that heaviness in my chest is an indication of a spiritual imbalance, and that usually indicates that you're grieving. My whole life has been grieving, you know, on some level. And the reason I'm grieving is because after everything that I have been through and everything that I have tried to do, there's been something constantly getting in my way, trying to get me on a different trajectory, to do a different thing, and to live a life that's more authentic to me. So I'd say maybe 20,000 people, at least 20,000 people have connected with me. And in my community, which is kind of like a trifecta thing, where there's like 3 towns that I frequented often, and people will recognize me, you know, just by looking at me. People will know me and they'll know what I'm about. Some people are for me and some people are against me. I learned during the time that I was very triggered to just be me unapologetically, and I've really become that person who I admire a lot, by the way. I really do admire myself, because no matter what, I didn't let anything change my heart. I stayed true to myself. Yes, I was in a lot of pain, and I was very angry. I was angry at the world. I was angry at my family. I was angry at my circumstance, and I had to work through all of that. That anger did nothing to change my situation. The only thing it did was make me very, very sick. Sick enough to get cancer. I ended up fighting for my life in this car while I lived in it, because I was so angry that I ended up with cancer. I had breast cancer and I had lung cancer at the same time. And I knew that because of everything that I had learned. It was just, there was no way I didn't have cancer. All of my toenails were black. I felt like battery acid was pouring out of my breast, underneath my breast, from my lung, in the front, in the back, and nobody believed me, which is fine, because I already knew. I'm not here to prove anything to anybody, but this is a problem and I have to take care of it, or I'm not going to be here. And I have grandkids who I love very much, and I feel that being in their life is really important for them. Even though I financially can't give them much because I don't have, but who I am as the gift. And that's what I tell them, you know. I am the present. You know, my love and my care, everything that I am, that's the gift that I bring to the world, and that's the gift you bring to the world. And we're always thinking it's not enough, because maybe somewhere deep in our psyche we don't feel that we are enough. So the reason why my chest is heavy today is because my rent is due, and I do not have the money to pay my rent. I have a past due on my electric, and I've really been struggling to eat. If it wasn't for my daughter helping me here and there, I wouldn't have anything. I still have a lot less than the average person. If you open up my cabinets in my kitchen or my refrigerator, it's next to nothing. Really, what I have in my freezer mostly is herbs. They're dried herbs that I use to make medicine for myself, and also to give to people in my community when they're in need, because they're also in a pinch. So I'm heavy in the chest because I feel like everything that I've been through, and here I am struggling, not able to pay my bills. And there's a very good probability that not only am I going to have to go back to living in my car, everything that I have accumulated and paid for in storage over the years, and the gifts that people gave me for being able to move into this apartment, is going to have to be left here. And I can tell you that the person who's going to get their hands on it, which is the property manager, is a very, very mean-spirited woman. Her nickname is Cruella. This woman has gone out of her way to make my life extremely uncomfortable since I've been here. There are cameras in the front, and then we had an altercation where she came up and attacked me, not physically, but verbally. And right afterwards, she threatened to tow my car. That triggered me. All of that triggered me, because you have to think, this was my only way to work, my only way to get around. It was my home for 8.5 years, and you are threatening me individually, telling me I can pack my shit and get the fuck out if I don't like the way that you're talking to me, or what you're saying to me. And then you attack me and say I'm looking at you like you are a bitch. I was just really taken back by the whole thing. This woman is no doubt a narcissist, and I've heard stories about her. She's done this with many of the other residents. And I want to just say that the people who live here, at least the majority of people who live here, all came here in the same way, and it's because of financial discrimination. Nowadays, if you want to rent a place, you have to prove that you have the income of a very successful entrepreneur or an executive. They would require me to prove that I make $3,600 a month just to live in the apartment that I live in. So the way that I was able to get around that was after refusing to go to a community shelter, which, by the way, there are only 2 that I know of. One here and one about an hour and 15 minutes from here. And you really have to be a resident of that county in order to be able to qualify to get services from there. But they don't have enough room or beds for people. So I went to a shelter here where my kids live, and stayed there for about 3 to 4 weeks, and they put me in a rapid rehousing program. And I was working. I was working as a floral clerk for a floral department in a grocery store. So back to what Dodash said about working a 9 to 5, being in a toxic environment around toxic people, that was my experience. I worked very hard. I worked so hard, I don't know if you can see this, there's a bee in here. And he just absolutely is attracted to the flowers that I sprayed on myself. So I had made some tincture from a flower that's good for a lot of things, but I sprayed some on myself, so he's loving it. Anyway, I got off track there, sorry. They weren't giving me enough hours. They were really micromanaging the hours that they were giving, and there were people there that were not showing up for their shift, and I would fill in for them because I was living in my car, so I could do a quick change and be ready to work right away without any hesitation. That wasn't ever appreciated. The harder I worked, the less... Go on. Go on, go on. The less they treated me with respect. I'm going to tell you, when you work for a big department like that and you're having to haul those heavy dry packed flowers, it takes a toll on you. And when you're constantly having to move and you're juggling, ringing up customers, making sure that everything is stocked. That's one thing about grocery stores you may or may not have noticed. Everything has to look like nobody ever bought anything. The shelves have to be full and the product has to be shifted, and you have to make time to fill in all of the empty spots. And then if you're working in a floral department, you have to have pre-made arrangements that are in vases that go in that case. And then there's all this maintenance that falls behind that doesn't get done in that department. There's no cleanliness, no organization, and flowers can get funguses and bacteria, which will spread to the rest of the flowers, and it kills off all of your product. So that was my main focus, getting that department where it needed to be, even though that's really the manager's job. Organizing it so everything was easy access, and getting things prepared, conditioned, and processed so that I was able to quickly grab what I needed to make the arrangements on the fly. Because you'll get a customer that comes in and they want something and you have to be ready to make it. You need a clean work area. Anyway, they were giving my hours to other people, or they were just cutting them back. So my manager was stressed out because she didn't have help because they weren't willing to pay for it. But yet they were paying her $22 an hour and huge bonuses twice a year. Well, that's good for her, but that didn't help me at all. Needless to say, because I loved working with flowers, which makes perfect sense for who I am, working with plant medicine and eating a plant-based diet, watching nutrition, all of those things were on the back burner for me because I had to survive. I had been in survival mode for a long time. But what really got me was when they wouldn't give me the hours. They claimed to not have the budget. They also claimed they were going to do another hour cut on everybody because they were going into a slower period, which just wasn't true for that area because, well, there's a hospital right by, and gift shops don't have large selections, so people would come to that floral department to get what they needed. Plus, there wasn't another floral shop within 15-mile radius. So we got a lot of business. We stayed busy most of the time. And then on top of all of those things, we had to do balloons throughout the store, at the self-checkout, down the aisle where they had all the cards. There was just a lot. And we would get 2 full trucks of flowers every week. And I was just trying to get everybody on track and get this department back on track so that one truck came in, everything got processed ASAP. Flowers were not sitting back there slowly degrading and just being preserved by the cold weather, because once you put that in a vase, it accelerates right back to where it should be as far as decaying. Customers not really getting their bang for their buck. They hired another person. That they did not need. They hired her to be a floral designer with no experience. None. She didn't know anything about flowers. She didn't know anything about working in a floral department. And yes, that comes with time, but they also paid her $2 more an hour. And so some of the hours that they took away from me were given to her. It was quite clear that I was being pushed out. And unfortunately, I stood up for myself. I wrote a letter of resignation. I gave them my 2 weeks. And didn't think I would have a problem finding another job somewhere. Well, God had another plan. Yeah, God had another plan, because you're always being tested. You really are. Anyway, point is, I left because of that. I left because what they were doing to me was wrong, and I deserved to be treated better. I should have been appreciated, but I wasn't, and instead of me just settling for that, I decided that I deserved more, and I had to make that choice. And I really loved being there. I really loved working with the flowers, so I kind of went through a mourning phase of having to walk away from that. And then I thought, well, I'm sure I can find another job somewhere in a floral department, because out of all the things I've ever done in my life, I think that is the one that I enjoyed the absolute most. So about 3 weeks ago, I went ahead and cold called a floral shop in the area, and it just so happens they were hiring. And he said he would get back to me, send him some pictures of the work that I've done. So I did that. Never responded to say either way what he thought about the pictures, but a few days later he called me and had me come in. So I worked with him Thursday, and then I worked with him Friday, told me to come back. At the end of Thursday, we still hadn't talked money. He told me he could never compete with what they paid me over there, which, by the way, is a lie. It really wasn't that much, but he was going to grossly underpay me. So when I asked him how much he would be paying me, he said, is $10 okay? I said it would be better if it was more. The girl who got hired at that floral department, who ended up taking my place, is making $17 an hour. $17 an hour. And the other thing is, she was treated with respect. I mean, a great deal of respect. They were taking their time to carefully teach her the things that I had been begging them to show me, that I had no practical experience in, so that I could help alleviate the pressure off of my manager, and also help the department to grow, like doing FTDs and things like that. No, wouldn't show me anything. But in my last few days that I was there, I watched her carefully, with kid gloves, teach this young lady everything that I had begged her to teach me and got laughed at. Like, yeah, I'll teach you when I have time. As if that's ever going to happen. And I thought, okay. I mean, this is a woman that actually threatened me. A customer wanted a specific kind of ribbon. She kept telling her we didn't have it. And I was like, I'm pretty sure we have something similar. I said, look in the bottom drawer. I said, that muted gold ribbon? This is a $120 arrangement done on the fly, and you don't want to give them the ribbon that they want? You want to tell them that it's not available just because you're pissed off that you have to do it? You are in the wrong place. That's not customer service. And this woman was not being difficult whatsoever. There's really no need for her to be so angry. But she looked at me and told me, I'll kill you. And I laughed at her and I said, thank you. Thank you. So when I contacted Human Resources, by the way, about this whole situation, because I was told, even though I quit, I was not eligible to reapply for 6 months. Yeah. Human Resources never got back to me. This is a very large grocery store in North Carolina. A very well-known grocery store in North Carolina. Anyway, going back to the local floral job. So I worked, let me go back, that conversation about the money. The conversation about the money, I wasn't thrilled, but I also knew my rent is coming up. I need to pay my bills. I need to cover my rent, right? So I don't really have a whole lot of options right now. That's what I need to do. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this, even though I shouldn't, and just enjoy the experience, learn what I can that I don't know, have the ability to do things that I wasn't allowed to do at my last job. And that goes in your little repertoire, that goes in your little skill file of all the things that you're capable of doing. You got to exercise those muscles if you want to build them. So that was kind of my philosophy. Okay, maybe there's not any monetary gain and I won't be able to eat. I'll barely be able to pay my bills, but at least I'll be able to pay my bills. And I won't have to think about going back to living in my car. But after that little back and forth about the amount of money, he said, but don't worry, because you'll get plenty of hours between this shop and the next shop. And I said, okay, I'd really like to stay. Well, he took advantage of that. Yeah, he did. He was very dishonest. And mind you, this is a person that teaches church. This is one of the things that I've found in people who are in those cliques, you know, those religious cliques, those organizations, where you're going to run into a lot of things that go against the things they teach and believe. But ironically, he teaches. He teaches at his church, which is really sad to think that he's living the complete opposite. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I worked Thursday, I worked on Friday. I was really ecstatic. So he paid me in cash. He took out what the IRS would have taken from that money and asked me to come back on Monday. And I said, I'll be here with bells on. And he laughed. And at that moment, my intuition kicked in and said, it isn't what you think it is. Be careful. He's going to back out. He's going to come up with an excuse. He's going to back out. And you're going to be left high and dry. Apparently, there was a woman that works there that had some family stuff come up, and she was out. For how long? Don't know. It was probably indefinite. I'm guessing she came back. But things happened while I was there. And this is what I talk about. Hiding who you are and having to do that in order to survive. How does that make any sense? You know, that's exactly the opposite of everything I've learned in the last nearly 20 years that God is holding me to, that I have to show up as me. I can't make it a costume party or a Halloween shit show every single time I get out of my car and go into a building and have to be around people that refuse to accept me for who I am. I can't pretend anymore. This is who I am, love me or not. This is who God made me to be. I have a purpose in this world. I have to deliver the messages that are given to me. And they might seem trivial to some people, but for some people it's very important. It could trigger very positive, healthy childhood memories that you need to be reminded of, you know. And a lot of these things are for the purpose of healing. Healing and opening up blockages and being able to move forward in your life. To get you also back on a trajectory. You know, you're focusing on all the things that Dodash talked about that aren't even important. You're working so hard to live in these places that are overcharging you, and you're not happy there. You're not treated well just like in the way that I'm not treated well living where I live. And you're breaking yourself. You're breaking who you are, what you believe in, compromising your values, having to swallow poor treatment, discrimination, abuse, neglect, and all of those things. You're having to do all of that just to be able to pay your rent, your utilities, and buy food that isn't even really good for your body. I try not to do that. I've always tried to take good care of myself. But when you're living in your car, everything's genetically modified. Everything and every ingredient that they use is really, really bad for you. And so then you have to go on top of that and counterbalance it with what you've learned in your life. And I've learned a lot. And speaking of the poor treatment, I want to say that after all of that, this woman came in 40 days after to do an inspection of my apartment. And at the time that she was screaming at me, I said, you're welcome to inspect my apartment anytime you want. She said, I know that. But I was basically trying to tell her, you can come in here now if you want to. Even though you don't have the legal right to do it, you're welcome to come in here and look around. It's going to look this way anytime you come here. So she was sending people to pretend to fix the electrical problems in this place that existed before I was even here. And I got blamed for that too, because my brand new phone charger blew up her electrical outlet and caused all these problems. Well, I've been here 6 months now, and it's never been fixed. But she's had plenty of her maintenance people who are her little flying monkeys is what I'm going to call them, that come in to get information for her and report back to her everything that was said and everything they saw. I mean, this is exactly how I'm living. And this is why God was like, you have to start your YouTube channel. You have to tell your story even though you don't want to. And we're going to help you. We're going to help you. Somehow, some way, by the grace of God, my life is going to change for the better. I don't know how, and it's really not my business. I just have to do what I am told. And the messages were coming in for me well before I ever saw that first post by Dodash. It was first to me, and it was, God wanted me to tell you. I mean, she got up in the camera. God wanted me to tell you, if you are over 50 years old, start your YouTube channel. So that's a message, I'm sure, for someone. This woman put a camera in the back of my apartment, facing down at where I would sit to go out, be in peace amongst the trees, watching the squirrels, taking care of the feral cat that no one took care of, really. And the people who she lived with moved out and left her here. So that cost money. Money I don't have, but I manage somehow, you know? I'm always figuring something out. Sorry, there's a lot of traffic. I know this video is going to be long. It's 46 minutes. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This really took me a lot of courage, and my mind wasn't 100% clear on how this conversation was going to go, but I just knew, because I started getting this intense feeling last night, that I really need to start telling my story. I need to start telling people what I'm going through, and how I got to this point. So anyway, if I lose this apartment, and she will, if I get evicted because I can't get help, and I've already reached out and I'm not getting anything back yet, and there really are very little services, and those services have been bled dry over the course of the epidemic. And so these organizations are doing things a lot different. They're not so quick to help people. And I've been told a lot of times, because I don't have any children, they can't help me. When I was living in my car, unless I was in danger of being evicted, they couldn't help me. I didn't understand that, but okay. So, like I said, the shelter helped me to get in here. I was pushed into this apartment because they have an agreement with her. Yeah, they have an agreement with her. They'll fill up all her apartments. And it doesn't matter how she treats people, and they are completely aware of how she treats people. She'll take it because they take care of the deposit, and sometimes they'll pay for a month or two, and then after that, you're on your own. And they'll tell you, well, it's not a forever thing, so you don't have to stay there after your lease is up. But anyway, how I got into the position of not being able to pay my rent. I looked and I looked and I looked. I looked for work. I wanted to do anything. I was like Dodash was talking about. I tried everything. I tried Lowe's, which is the big box store, Walmart, gas stations, anything and everything, just so I could make some money. But my heart was really saying work with flowers. And I got back so many refusal letters rejecting me, saying that, we thank you for your application, but we've decided to move on with another candidate. And then guess what? I would see their job post again for the same job they denied me. A job that I can absolutely do, like the city that I work in. My utilities are through them, so I can do that. You know, of course I don't know how to do it, because you have to show me what you do so that I can do what you do. You know, I applied for that job. I can absolutely do it. Nope, I wasn't given that opportunity. Lowe's canceled on me 1 hour. This is just to show you what God will do in your life. 1 hour before my interview, Lowe's contacted me to cancel that interview. Now, I know for a fact that this young lady at that grocery store where I worked in the floral department, I know she's not allowed to, by law, say negative things about me if someone calls her for a job reference, but I know she was not giving a good reference, and it was causing a cascade of problems in my life. I've put in 40, 50 applications and wasn't getting anywhere. And God is doing this. Okay? God is like, that's not who you are, and that's not what you need to be doing. I know I need to be working for myself. That's what I should be doing. I should be working with plant medicine, herbs, people, trying to help them. I have, just like Dodash, I lost 50 pounds. And I was sitting in my chair. I was not working out. I wasn't doing nothing. I was just taking care of my body, giving it what it needed, and getting rid of everything that my body did not need. Now, don't judge me by the way that I look right now, because I've eaten a lot of bad food, and that has packed on the weight. And when I say a lot of, I just mean over the course of time. I don't overeat. So your body retains toxins in fat. That's why people are overweight. It's not because they're eating, it's because of what they're eating. The bad things that they're consuming that they don't allow in food in Europe. Anyway, we can get into that later. And I can also leave you with some names of people who are doing a phenomenal job helping people to understand how their body works and how to help their body to heal. As far as my cancer is concerned, it took me a year. I worked very hard on that, and I reversed the cancer. But it wasn't just in my body. It was in my heart. It was in my head. All of that got internalized. All the abuse, all the hate, all the anger, all the grief. Think about it, what I said earlier. The grief, the heaviness in the chest, and the breast. The breast is to nurture a child. It is to feed a child. Okay? I did not feel nurtured. I did not feel loved. I was grieving. And I was also grieving the life that I never got to have. No matter how hard I worked, no matter how hard I tried, I could never get the same results as other people. This is God moving in my life. This is God saying, no, Elizabeth, I'm sorry. You can't. That's not for you. That's just not for you. So back to the local floral guy. I know I'm all over the place. I'm so sorry. I just, I didn't have a script. Imagine that. I decided that, okay, well, if that's not going to work out, I'm going to take furniture and I'm going to refinish the furniture. And I had watched videos for years. All that time when I had downtime, when I wasn't doing rideshare and I wasn't doing food delivery, or I was having problems with the platforms and I wasn't getting the work that I needed, as long as I was able to eat, shower, wash my clothes, those things that I absolutely had to have, which wasn't a lot of money, but, as long as I had gas in my car and that kind of thing, that was enough for me for right then and there. I would take my time, heavily invest in YouTube University. Yes, this is where I learned a lot. I learned a lot about herbs. I learned a lot about medicine. I've done all the outside research prior to start living in my car, so all of the medical peer review reports, the scientific studies and experimentations, all of that, every database, I was in it. I was learning from doctors. I was learning from universities that published that information for free. All of it is who I am, every bit of it. So what I am is a medical intuitive, and I pick up things with people. My body can feel what a person's going through. Some people are going to say, oh, that's empathy. No, it is, but it's empathy to the 9th degree. It really is. I am an actual psychic. A lot of people are not comfortable with that. It's just the same thing as saying I'm intuitive. God gave me that gift, and it came upon that trauma that put me into a domestic violence shelter for 2 months, and then put me in my car on the run in training, in training. I was in training. That's what I was doing. I was learning. I was learning how my gift works, how to interpret it, how to understand it, how to explain it. And then all of the precursor stuff that I learned prior to that, so the decade before with all the plant medicine, nutrition, all of that was my reference. And then, like Doe Dash said in that video about why I have no friends and why I work no 9-to-5 jobs, and that was one of the reasons that I couldn't be in a building. I was so traumatized. I couldn't be around people. The person I was with was a narcissist, and he had 9 children, and they were his flying monkeys. I was put through pure hell for 2.5 years. I can't even begin to tell you the things that I saw, heard, and witnessed, or the way that me and my son were treated. That's a whole nother story, because this video is already almost an hour long. I'm at the point now in my life, after what just happened with that floral shop, how he contacted me Sunday night, the day of service, not even being open in shop. Could have done this on Saturday, because they're open Saturdays, to say, we're not busy, which was a lie. We're not busy. So I want you to just hang tight until I call you. Okay, fine. I knew what it was. I told you. I already knew. Monday goes by, Tuesday goes by, Wednesday goes by. I've had enough. I've heard absolutely nothing. There is no way I can remain silent about the truth. The truth is, this man used me, did me dirty, and knew exactly what he was going to do and how he was going to do it, because he's probably done it before. I had written a text that was probably about this long. I took very good care to be considerate and respectful, but very clear about my thoughts and feelings on what just took place and what the ramifications were of his choice to do that to someone without knowing anything about them or what they've been through or what their needs are, and more importantly, not caring. Not caring at all, right? So I mean nothing to you until you need me to help you make money. Is that correct? Did I understand you correctly? I am worthless to you unless I'm doing something for you, and you're breadcrumbing me? Isn't that interesting? So how was church on Sunday? You know, good question, right? And I did tell him in there, I said, I guess teaching the Word of God and living by the Word of God are 2 different things. That was one of the things that I said to him. And then I bullet pointed all of the things that happened, how they happened, what he said, put it in quotes, and how his behavior contradicted that. So actions speak louder than words, right? Remember that. Never forget that. You can only have a poor experience when you participate and when you give permission for people to abuse you or mistreat you in some way. That could be anybody. It could be your family. You have a choice. It might be really uncomfortable. You can decide at any time that you deserve better and walk away. But a lot of people don't. They have many reasons why they stay in uncomfortable, toxic relationships or toxic environments, dealing with everything that's poisoning you. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that will cause you to have cancer. You can kill yourself by consuming all of that poison and never cleansing it out of your life. So it is your choice what you do. So my channel is brand new and I'm not monetized. I don't know when I will be monetized. I came on here to share some of my story over time, which today is not the greatest video. I apologize. And also to give people positive messages that can help them. Messages that are coming from a higher place to help them take the next step forward, to have some sense of direction. And I'm sure this channel is going to evolve, But for any of you who got something from this video and wish to contribute, there are several ways that you can do that. You can hit the like button. You can leave a emoji in the comment section, which helps the algorithm pick this video up, send it out to more people who are meant to see it, because I was definitely meant to see DoDash's video. Absolutely. And I'm supporting her channel. I make sure I like every video that comes up, and I try to watch them. If I can't, I at least give her a thumbs up. And subscribing, because it's going to take me 1,000 subscribers in order for me to be able to get monetized. So that can really help the channel a lot. And I, by the way, have a ton of subscriptions that, unfortunately, since I have so many, I don't always get the videos that are released by those channels, or don't have the time, or maybe no interest in that video. But I am subscribed to their channel because I know that it helps them. It helps them to get to the point where they're monetized. And after that, you know, if somebody doesn't want to subscribe, it's really not as important. I know a lot of people are kind of after that plaque, you know, the YouTube plaque. I don't think there's any real benefits to that other than, you know, you have more people following you maybe, and maybe those people are really loyal to your channel and want to watch your videos because they're interested in your content. And then to help me possibly, you know, get some help, you know, with my personal situation, I've left my Cash App in the description box for people who might want to leave a token of gratitude for anything they might have gotten from this video or any of the other videos that I have, because at this point you get nothing from YouTube. There's no way to make money. And I'm not saying anybody has to do it. Please don't, unless it comes from your heart and you truly, truly want to help. But I was thinking last night, it was so profound to me. People are waiting for someone else to save them. And you are someone, right? So that's number one. But we're all talking about what other people aren't doing, right? Kind of like DoDash was talking about, people are talking about other people. Oh, look at her, what are you wearing, you know? How could you come to work like that, blah, blah, blah. Some people are that kind of people. They like drama, they like trouble. But imagine if they invested their energy in a positive way. And by the way, money is your true value of your currency. Your currency is you, your energy. That is your true currency. Anyway, just to make a perfect example for people to consider is that we're all talking about, well, the government needs to this and the government needs to that, and this is perfect timing because, of course, this is the election. We're all waiting for someone else to take all these problems in a box and be like, here's the problems, and we're going to tick it off our boxes, every single one of them. We're going to take care of it. We're going to do it. Yeah, right. Somebody or something's going to get in the way of that happening, or they already know that's not their intention. Until they get into office, they're going to tell you everything they want to hear. That's our experience. We know. We've seen it a million times, especially the older crowd. We've seen it all. But what if 300 people saw this video and 300 people donated $5 to my Cash App? That's only 300 people. Do you know how many millions of people are on YouTube? Wow. Amazing. This is really a great opportunity for a lot of people. But $5, 300 people, would keep me from living in my car. Would keep me from going back to my car. Is this the place that I really want to live? No. Do I want to live in this toxic environment around that woman who has made it her mission to harass me with cameras and the way that she talks to me and denies me, you know, the repairs in the apartment that she was already aware of before I ever moved in? No, this is not my ideal place. So maybe that's God's message. Maybe God's message is nobody's going to help you and you're going to go back to living in your car, but you're going to walk away from everything you worked your butt off for, because everything you have is going to stay right here, because you don't have a truck, you don't have money for storage, absolutely everything. She's going to get all of it. Because I've tried to sell a lot of my things last month because I kind of saw that this might happen, you know. If I wasn't able to get work and then I got a job and that guy did what he did and that changed everything. But I put all my stuff on Marketplace, and I don't know how these people who refinish furniture actually make any money, because I have had 2 nightstands on here that turned out so beautiful and no one has bought them. And I've reduced them to next to nothing. It definitely would not help me in the way of paying 2 of my bills. It wouldn't even help. What I've listed it for, I can't even pay those 2 bills, and that doesn't include my rent. Isn't that crazy? It's just crazy what people will do to survive. And then when you try to, and over the years that I lived in my car, I spent all this money gathering all the tools that I would need, or not all the tools, but the most important tools to help me to achieve that type of thing. And I bought tons of paint. You know, I spent over $1,000 just on the paint, just so I could do projects like this, because I knew that one day that's what I wanted to do. I thought it was a great thing to do, and I could be free, work for myself, and make money. Didn't work out. Those nightstands are still posted. They have been posted for a month and a half. And people are looking at it, but nobody's serious about buying it. So, and I don't get it, because they are beautiful. Once again, God is working in my life. And I am being tested. I'm gonna be able to pack my car up with just a few things that I can fit in here, and that would be the medicines that I've made, some books that I have. I really don't own any clothes. I don't have any clothes. Everything else is gonna have to stay. But I personally am not reacting. I'm not reacting to that, because I know that if this is what has to happen, then this is what has to happen. That if I have to go live back in my car, then so be it. I'm still gonna make videos. I'm still gonna share messages for people that need it at that time, and hopefully that will grow as well, because there are other things I'd like to share too, but I'm not real confident just yet. So you guys are gonna have to bear with me. For those of you who have subscribed, liked, and commented my videos, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you. I really, truly, truly appreciate you being here. And if you've watched this video, God bless you. Because it's now at 1 hour, 8 minutes, and I'm very sorry about that. It just went on. It went on too long, but I really, truly wish the best for everyone. I really, really do. I want you to know that when you feel like you're alone, when you feel like you don't matter, I actually do feel you. I am capable of doing that. That is part of my gift. And I like people to know you are loved. You really are important, much more important than you will ever give yourself credit for. Don't ever think badly about yourself. Don't ever stop moving towards the things that you love. Do what you love. Be who you are. You know, you're so special. God does not make mistakes.